What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Let's just try and see real quick if we can break 100 likes on this video. That'd be super duper insane. You guys have been crushing it with the support lately. I thought we could set like goals in the video, just see how it goes. Today, this is week 7 predictions of the Premier League, and week 6 was definitely my best one yet. I came close to having a near perfect Super Sunday, so it was great fun for me to watch those games, and yeah, I just had a lot of fun, and I read all you guys' predictions down in the comments, and for that, I want to give a massive shout out to Ezekiel Kamau. I hope I've said your name right, man, but he left his predictions on the previous video as well, so congratulations to you for getting a little shout out in this video. If you want to be featured in the next episode of the Premier League predictions, then just leave your score predictions down below for the week 7 of the Premier League. I said the word predictions way too many times already, but before we get into week 7, let's have a little look back at week 6 and see how I got on with all the scores and the perfect scores that I got that week. One of which, I got a perfect score that I didn't get for the entirety of the last season, so that was pretty cool when I actually realised that I'd done that. But kicking off with Southampton versus Bournemouth, I predicted a 2-2 draw, and it was actually a 3-1 away win to Bournemouth, so that was a fantastic victory for Bournemouth, which basically where I live in Poole, which is next to it, so it was quite good to see that news. The Leicester versus Tottenham game, I predicted a 2-1 win to Tottenham, and when Tottenham went 2-0 up, it looked pretty good to happen, and then they went 1-0 up because of VAR. I think with the Tottenham goal, the second one, I think that should have stood. I think in the similar way to cricket, you have umpires call on the DRS. I think there needs to be some sort of margin that kind of stays with the on-field decision of the linesman, because it wasn't even the width of the line of each offside line apart. They were overlapping, and I think that should be the margin. I think if the two lines of either the player or the defender, if they cross over and there's not a gap between them, then and they've originally decided onside on the field, that should stay with the on-field decision. Same way if they flag it offside on the field and it's like that, they shouldn't say, oh, it's onside. They should stay with the on-field decision. But yeah, I predicted 2-1 to Tottenham. It finished 2-1 to Leicester. So that was quite an exciting game. Burnley versus Norwich, I predicted 1-1, ended in 2-0. Oh, that is my phone. Burnley versus Norwich, I predicted a 1-1 draw, and it actually turned out being a 2-0 win to Burnley, so a fantastic victory there. In my opinion, the shock of the weekend, I predicted a 2-0 win to Everton, and it was a 2-0 win to Sheffield United against Everton at Goodison Park, so that's absolutely phenomenal. Man City, I said they'd beat Watford 4-1, and well, we know what happened. They beat them 8-0, so absolute destruction there. Newcastle Brighton, I said Newcastle would win 2-1, but in my opinion Brighton were unlucky to get away with the 3 points, and it was probably the most entertaining 0-0 draw I've ever seen. You look at the scorecard and you think, yeah, that's exactly what I thought would happen for that game. But it was quite an exciting game considering no goals went in, but it was a 0-0 draw in the end. Now moving on to the Sunday, a very great day for me. Crystal Palace versus Wolves, I predicted a 1-1 draw, and that is exactly the score thanks to a 10-men Wolves scoring in stoppage time right at the end. West Ham Man United, I predicted 2-1 to West Ham, and it was actually 2-0 to West Ham, so very close there. Arsenal versus Aston Villa, I correctly predicted a 3-2 scoreline, that's the scoreline. I never predicted a 3-2 correctly all of last year, and to do it here was absolutely great. It's phenomenal. Aston Villa are now the first team of the season where I've predicted multiple correct scores for in their matches, so that's pretty cool, with Arsenal being the team I correctly predicted the scores of last season, so it lends itself for me to correctly predict Arsenal versus Aston Villa. And then my final prediction, Chelsea versus Liverpool, I predicted 2-2 to Chelsea, and it ended in a 2-1 win to Liverpool, and although Liverpool technically speaking and literally speaking did what they needed to do to get over the line, I think a 2-2 scoreline would have better reflected both halves combined for the game as a whole. I thought Chelsea were very unlucky not to get something out of that game. Whew, I've been speaking way too long. So it is time to get into the week 7 games now. The first one being Sheffield United up against Liverpool. I see this being very similar to when Liverpool went away to Burnley. I can see it being a straightforward enough win to Liverpool, especially because Sheffield aren't the greatest, but they are doing well. They're in the top half of the table, which is better than a lot of people expected and gave them credit for. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win here to Liverpool. The next game is Aston Villa versus Burnley. Burnley coming off of a great 2-0 win thanks to a great 5 minutes in the first 15 from them, and Aston Villa coming off of that 3-2 defeat to Arsenal after going 1-0 up, then having Arsenal go down to 10 men, going 2-1 up, and then just conceding 2 goals to make it 3-2. So Aston Villa will definitely want to bounce back, and I think at home here they will be able to do that. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Aston Villa. The next game is Bournemouth versus West Ham. Bournemouth and West Ham, I'm not going to say the surprise packages of the season so far, but at the same time, kind of are the surprise packages of the season so far. They're right there in 4th and 5th, I believe, or 5th and 6th, something like that. And It's Bournemouth at home, so I think if it was West Ham at home, despite Bournemouth's impressive 3-1 win away to Southampton, I'd give West Ham probably the benefit of doubt by about a goal. But I'm going to go for an entertaining 2-2 draw here between the two teams over at the Vitality Stadium. The next game is Chelsea versus Brighton. Brighton, as I said, played fairly well against Newcastle. They just weren't very clinical in the end, and Chelsea gave Liverpool a good run. They didn't play that well in the first half, and if they did play as well as they did in the second half in the first half, they would have definitely got something out of that game. But Chelsea are looking okay. They do seem to have a few injury issues, particularly at the back as well, but I'm going to go for a comfortable enough 2-0 win here against Brighton. Brighton unable to take advantage against Newcastle, so I think will be unfortunate in the sense that this will be a second week without a point for them, despite them actually playing quite well. I'm going for the 2-0 win to Chelsea. The next game, Crystal Palace up against Norwich. Norwich has been a very weird season, beating the champions, but then getting 3 points in the other 5 games. It's been very, very up and down, and Crystal Palace, they've been doing okay. Arguably, they should have definitely kept their 1-0 lead against a 10-man Wolves side, but they weren't able to. I'm going to go for them to get a low-scoring home win here, a 1-0 win to Crystal Palace in this fixture. The next one is Tottenham versus Southampton. Southampton, completely undone by Bournemouth at St Mary's, which was a bit of a surprise, and Tottenham undone by Leicester. And yes, Tottenham, like I said, did go 2-0 up, and the VAR, in my opinion, was controversial. It wasn't enough, in my opinion, to overturn an on-field decision. To stick with an on-field decision, fair enough. But to overturn it was quite harsh. But then again, you could ask, technically speaking, it was offside, but it's not even that precise. It was that close. But I think Tottenham are going to bounce back here and get the win. They do perform better at home, and Southampton, I don't think, are going to be able to get something from this game. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Tottenham. Now, the next game is at the Molineux, and it promises to be very, very interesting because we have two standout teams last season, Wolves and Watford, going head-to-head. Now, both Watford at the very bottom and Wolves very near the relegation zone, if not in it. And I'm going for Wolves, actually, to get their first win of the Premier League season, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. It's unfortunate for Watford. Please excuse my phone. It's unfortunate for Watford in a sense that just the fixtures, like, they haven't been playing that great. They managed to get a 2-2 draw against Arsenal, but then the fixtures aren't really favouring them. Like, this isn't a great fixture for a team away to Wolves, but then again, Wolves never do well against bottom of the table. They lost twice to bottom of the table Huddersfield last year, so maybe Watford will win and they'll be the Huddersfield. I don't know, but I'm going to go for the 2-1 win to Wolves. The next game is Everton up against Manchester City. Now, if Everton's run of form continues, it will not be long before Marco Silva gets sacked, because he started off pretty shaky at the start of last season, but then he kind of brought it back towards the middle of the season, really around Christmas and the New Year, and then finished really, really strong. So with the business they did in the summer, I think they need to be doing better. And just as the team they are in general, they need to be doing better. They need to be doing like as well as Leicester are, or at least as well as Bournemouth and West Ham are doing. Like, Bournemouth are almost filling the Everton spot at this point, or West Ham, or whichever way around you want to say it, whereas they should be up there with the likes of Leicester trying to break into that top 6, and they just haven't been. And Moise Keane, he was such a talked about signing, and he really hasn't, fired. And obviously they're coming up against Manchester City, who just won 8-0. They're now the first team in the Premier League to concede 8 goals, the 8-1 loss against Middlesbrough 11 years ago, and to score 8 goals. To do both of those. So congratulations to Man City, I suppose. Bit of a backhanded compliment type statistic, but yeah, I'm going to go for a convincing 4-1 Manchester City win. If I thought it was 4-1 against Watford and that turned into an 8-0, I think with that form, I can translate it to a 4-1 against a better Everton side who still won't be able to cope with Manchester City. So 4-1 in that game. The next game is Leicester up against Newcastle. This is a great fixture for Leicester to come back to after beating Tottenham in a tough game like that. This is a great one to not guarantee the 3 points, because they'd just as likely lose, because that's what the Premier League is. Everyone's beating each other except Liverpool. But I think Leicester will get the win here and just keep the momentum going, keep themselves in third place, and really have a strong push for top 6 this year. And Brendan Rodgers is doing a great job. You really can see the players like him and they're playing for him, and it's a great sight to see, to be honest, because I feel like as a neutral, everyone loves Leicester. Everyone wanted them to win the league when they won the league, and everyone just kind of likes them for that. No one really hates them, and it is good to see. So I'm going for a 2-0 Leicester win in this one. And now the game of the week for me, Manchester United versus Arsenal, Monday Night Football. Arsenal coming back from 10 men. With 10 men from 1-0 down and 2-1 down to win 3-2 was great. And the way Manchester United played against West Ham, you could see, because obviously on the Super Sunday they showed the West Ham Man United game, then the Chelsea Liverpool game, and the difference in quality was phenomenal, even from Chelsea and Man United. But West Ham and Man United seemed like evenly matched in the same way Chelsea and Liverpool did, and Man United was still on the receiving end of a loss against a team like West Ham, who are decent, but Man United are just so far away from where they need and want to be, and I think Arsenal can actually go to Old Trafford and win, because in the past, you'd expect Arsenal to beat Man United at the Emirates, like the recent past that is, and you'd expect Man United, despite shaky form, to beat Arsenal at Old Trafford. But I'm going to go for Arsenal to actually upset them here. They've got momentum with that comeback with the win against Aston Villa, and Man United, if Pogba and Martial don't play especially, they look toothless. They look terrible. Like, honestly, if they don't have Pogba and Martial for this game, I don't see them winning, at least. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to the Gunners. So that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like on it. Like I said, 100 likes would be fantastic. Thank you for all the support lately. Leave your comments down below for your predictions of the Week 7 games for a chance to be featured in the Week 8 episode of the Premier League predictions, which will be out on the channel a week from today. So that's going to do it from me. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.